My friend Vicente used to make great extracts of plants. I told Don Juan that once during one of my trips to Mexico, I had met his friend Vicente. Don Juan seemed to be surprised and wanted to know more about it. I was driving through Durango at that time and remembered that Don Juan had once told me I should pay a visit to his friend who lived there. I looked for him and found him and talked to him for a while. Before I left, he gave me a sack with some plants and a series of instructions for replanting one of them. I stopped on my way to the town of Aguascalientes. I made sure there were no people around. I took one of the plants, walked into a field of cacti, and planted it as Don Vicente had instructed me, and then I started back toward my car. I hurried down a slope onto the highway and found 3 Mexicans at the car, 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men was sitting on the bumper. They wanted a ride. I told them I didn't have any space in my car. I gave them some money for their bus fare. The younger man took the bills and thanked me, but the older man turned his back disdainfully. I want transportation. I'm not interested in money. They stood there looking at me for a moment, and then they began to walk away. I got into my car and tried to start the motor. The heat was very intense, and the motor seemed to be flooded. The younger man stopped and stood behind my car, ready to push it. I felt a tremendous apprehension. I was actually panting desperately. The motor finally ignited, and I zoomed away. After I'd finished relating this, Don Juan remained pensive for a long while. "Why haven't you told me this before?" he said, without looking at me. I didn't know what to say. I shrugged my shoulders and told him that I never thought it was important. "It's damn important. Vicente is a first-rate sorcerer. He gave you something to plant because he had his reasons, and if you encountered 3 people who seemed to have popped out of nowhere right after you had planted it, there was a reason for that, too. But only a fool like you would disregard the incident and think it wasn't important." Don Juan shook his head from side to side and in a half-kidding tone expressed his bewilderment at what he called my baffling good luck. He said that my visiting Don Vicente was like walking into a lion's den armed with a twig. Don Juan seemed to be agitated, yet I couldn't see any reason for his concern. He seemed so frail. His strangely haunting eyes made him look almost ethereal. I asked Don Juan how a beautiful person like that could be dangerous. "You're a damn fool. He won't cause you any harm by himself, but knowledge is power. And once a man embarks on the road to knowledge, he's no longer liable for what may happen to those who come in contact with him. You should have paid him a visit when you knew enough to defend yourself. Not from him, but from the power he's harnessed, which, by the way, isn't his or anybody else's.